Hello clan fans. I hope you enjoyed that little intro that I did. I don't usually do that kind of stuff. I was in theater, so I think the acting bug is starting to bite me a little more. But yeah, I had fun making that, and it was just a little homage to Outlander and Fraser's Ridge, and especially Claire's costume from this season. And I was actually really happy because I got to make the waistcoat myself, as well as the neck scarf here. And yeah, I had a lot of fun being creative with that, and I truly hope you enjoyed that. I don't know how often I will do that in my future videos, but I definitely wanted to do something special for the finale. Just finished watching the season 6 finale, and wow, so much. So much went down in this episode, and oh, we left off on quite the cliffhanger there. But thankfully, as is usual with Outlander, aside from season 4, we actually ended on a fairly hopeful note. But yes, things are left a little up in the air, but at the same time, we have a feeling of what will probably happen at the beginning of season 7, which hopefully will be coming sooner rather than later. Now, without further ado, let us talk about episode 8 of season 6, titled I Am Not Alone. So one quick thing I wanted to point out in the intro of this episode is that when they show the title card, we actually see a little scene set in a diner, which looks like the 1950s, I want to say. And I was a little confused. I'm like, are we going to get a flashback or something? But actually it turned out it was just a memory of Claire's, but I'll explain that a little more as I get into the story. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that little moment. So the episode begins where we pretty much left off in the last episode, and Richard Brown and his men are there to arrest Claire, but Jamie is not going to let her go without a fight. And soon enough, a fight breaks out amongst the men, and they try to get Claire, but Claire, she's savvy with a gun, what can I say? She does end up shooting one of the men who tries to attack her inside the house. He doesn't die right away, which I was surprised that she actually shot him, especially in a place that's quite, could be fatal. And, yeah, there's a little foreshadowing here, but I'll get to that in a moment. So yes, basically, Jamie and Claire have to barricade themselves inside their home, and Richard Brown at one point tells the men to cease fire, and he tries to get them to come out, but Jamie keeps shooting at him because, you know, you just, you can't trust a Brown. Not in the Outlander universe anyway. But yeah, he wants to take Claire in for a fair trial. Fair being used loosely here. But yeah. Jamie obviously does not agree to this, so he shoots the hat out of Richard Brown's hand, and basically they're going to be pulling an all-nighter wondering if the safety committee is going to enter their home. Yeah. Honestly, Richard Brown is just... I'll get to him in a minute. So yes, Jamie and Claire are stuck inside the home, and while they are able to relax for a moment, they talk about things, and Jamie mentions this one little thing where when he was in France, I assume he means before he and Claire went, he met up with a fortune teller, and they read the palm of his hand and said that he has 9, or they just said 9, which they assume 9 lives. And after that 9th life is reached, that's when he will die. But in a way it gives Claire some comfort because he hasn't had 9 near-death experiences yet. But I'm afraid, because I know he at least has one more coming up. I don't know if he has more. Ugh. And Claire herself, she's had a few, she's gone through a few of her own near-death experiences, so I wonder how many lives she has. Aside from that. But yeah, I liked this moment between them because even in the toughest of times, Jamie is able to give Claire a sense of comfort, and it's so nice to see with them how strong their relationship is. Also, shout out to Adso. I felt honestly so bad that that cat had to go through that. I'm like, is Adso okay? He's in the house too, and he's probably getting shot at when you think about it, but let's not think about it. He's fine. So they're basically waiting for men of the Ridge to show up to help them because Lizzie and Mrs. Bug went to go fetch people. And I have to give Mr. and Mrs. Bug credit here. They actually did come through in the end. A little late, but they tried. Unfortunately, before they and the people of the Ridge arrive, the Fisher folk show up, and Mr. Crombie, he's a interesting dude. He was the one who threatened Jamie and believed that Claire was the murderer in the last episode, and he has come, like, to put himself between Jamie, Claire, and Brown and his men, and he's basically telling them to give themselves up and that no harm will come to them, but well, obviously you can't trust the Fisher folk. The second Jamie and Claire agree to step out, the Fisher folk start calling her a witch and throwing rocks, and it's like, are you people civil? But yes, so all of that's going down, and Brown, of course, shows up because he always does. Eventually, they convince Jamie and Claire to go, especially when Tom Christie steps in and says that no harm will come to them and he will accompany them on the journey to... They're going to go to Salisbury, and that's where they're going to have the trial. However, Alan, he really wants to blame Jamie here, interestingly, of murdering Malva and turning the Fisher folk against him. He doesn't really go after Claire as much as you'd think he would, but he has something against Jamie. Possibly because Malva was interested in Jamie and infatuated, and there might be a sense of jealousy. But that is not a part of the show yet, so I'm not going to go into that yet. But yeah, Alan's just a troublemaker. But Tom, he sincerely wants to make sure that Jamie and Claire are kept safe during the journey to Salisbury. So they all decide to leave in the morning, and during that night, I could feel, like, all the emotion. Like, imagine being taken away from your home because you're accused of murder that you didn't commit, and Claire's just, like, seeing, like, all the damage done to the house from the shootout, and she loves her home so much, she doesn't want to leave it. And while they're in bed, Claire admits to Jamie that she's scared, and to comfort her, they begin to make love, and just, the scene was just so beautiful, honestly. Just the connection that they have. And then we see, like, parts of the house that are in disarray, and it's kind of like a symbolic thing. Like, no matter how much their world breaks, no matter how much damage there is around them, they are just so strong together, and nothing can break them. They get taken away in the morning, and Lizzie, Mrs. Bug, Mr. Bug, they're all there, like, basically there to say goodbye to them. We don't really hear them say goodbye, but they're there to watch them go, and Claire just looks at her house one more time, feeling like there's a chance she's not going to get to see it again. Yeah, the emotions run deep here. But yes, they are being taken away, and on their journey at one point, they go through a little town where Brown's men are like, "We caught a murderer! She's in the wagon!" And people start stoning the wagon, but not only that, they start attacking Claire, throwing a rock at her in the wagon, and one man tries to come in. Yeah. One man tries to climb into the wagon, and Claire just, like, socks him. And, oh my god, the scene was just so intense. And at one point, Brown got hit with a rock, and a little part of me, I'm gonna be honest, laughed. Because he kind of deserved that. Ugh. Like, seriously, dude, what do you think's gonna happen when your men say, "Hey, there's a murderer here"? You know how people react. But yeah, eventually Tom, like, fires his gun to get everyone to stop, which amazingly they do. Yeah, just everyone was just so awful in that moment. But honestly, this episode actually made me respect Tom, like, a lot more than I did. Which, you know, was 0 at one point. But yeah, just, he really is actually looking out for Claire. And there's a reason why, which we will get into that near the end. But yes, just the fact that he's there, like, trying to keep order and everything, it's actually kind of a needed component that we don't see too often in that time period. So they carry on after all that, and at one point they are stopped at a camp, and Jamie is taken out to go relieve himself, and the man who's guarding them goes to, I forgot what he was going to do, drink or whatever. And Jamie sees Ian because when Ian returned home, Lizzie told him everything. So Ian has tracked them down. He knows where they are, and he promises to keep close by. He was originally planning to help Jamie and Claire escape, but Jamie knows that it's not safe for him and Claire to be on the run, because basically the whole North Carolina is against them at this point. Thanks to Brown. Yes, honestly, Ian truly is a guardian angel. What would this show do without him? Also, I forgot to mention, they, instead of going to Salisbury, because there's no more sheriff there due to the revolution that's beginning to happen, they are now being taken to Wilmington. And on the way to Wilmington, at one point, Jamie is taken out to go fetch water for him and Claire. However, this is where I really hate Brown. The men begin to hold Jamie down, and Claire is taken away in the wagon. And then Jamie gets knocked unconscious, so he can't go and follow her. Eventually, Brown stops the wagon, and he explains to Claire he's not doing this for his brother, because what his brother did to Claire was truly awful. He's doing it because she's a murderer and took the life of a young innocent woman. But also, he was his brother. Yeah, I kind of saw that one coming. Like, man. Brown is like, oh, he's really taken after Lionel here. He's like stepping up to be the worst Brown, but at the same time, Lionel's still the worst. But Richard is a close second. Yeah. This man's determined basically to get Claire hanged, and the point of finding a town with a sheriff away from anybody that they know is so basically Claire doesn't stand a chance of being found not guilty. Eventually, they do arrive in Wilmington, and Tom Christie has stayed with Claire. Claire really wanted him to go back to make sure that Jamie was okay, but Tom promised her that he would not let her out of his sight. She doesn't really know what his motive is here, if he really wants to see it through that she's killed, or what happens exactly. But once they reach the prison cell that Claire's going to be held in, Brown goes to talk to the sheriff, and Tom Christie approaches her and gives her some money, and he tells her and reassures her that Jamie is still alive, and he actually places his hand on hers. So that's the scene that we see in the opening credits. I originally thought it was Jamie, but nope, it is Tom Christie. Because I think at this point we can figure out he does have feelings for her, and definitely in the book that was the case. So it looks like they are following that storyline there. And yeah, he's basically gonna see to it that she's gonna be kept safe, given a fair trial, but I think he also is going to end up saving her from any guilt, but I don't know how the show's gonna handle this. We're gonna have to find out. And it looks like that is where we are going to be taken into season 7, because that is where we leave Claire. She is now in a prison cell. She will be waiting there for basically an entire year as they film season 7. Yep. But before the episode ends, Jamie has been taken to a beach by Brown's men, and he's going to be placed on a ship that is going back to Scotland. And before one of the men can knock Jamie unconscious, an arrow shoots through him, and I shouldn't be smiling when I say this, but pretty much Ian has arrived. He has come with Myers, who we haven't seen in like a long time. I don't think we even saw him this whole season, which is weird because he is one of the men of the Ridge. I don't know if he was there when they came to aid Jamie and Claire earlier in the episode, but if I missed him, I apologize. But yes, he has accompanied Ian, as well as some of the Cherokee, including Chief Bird. Ah, we love Chief Bird. But yes, they kill all the men there. One of them was really graphic. I'm not gonna lie. If you guys know that moment. But yes, they rescue Jamie, and they are gonna go help him find Claire. And that is where we leave the episode. Them riding on the beach to Wilmington. I was so worried that this episode was gonna end on, like, not just a cliffhanger, but like a very dreadful cliffhanger. One where you really don't know what's gonna happen, or like the worst possible scenario is like where it's left. But in true Outlander fashion, like I mentioned, they ended on a high note, because Jamie is now on his way to find Claire to help her get through the trial. And yeah, we will see that in season 7. Oh boy. I am truly so thrilled that they are filming right now. That means they are ensuring that we are going to get a season 7 as soon as possible. And I find it very interesting that we're picking up basically the last part of book 6 in season 7. But because season 7 is going to be a longer one, I think we're not going to have too many episodes to resolve what's going on. So fingers crossed this all goes well. I should also mention that Claire, unfortunately, the man that she shot at, she technically ended up killing him. He doesn't die right away, but on the journey he does fall over and succumb to his wound. So Claire also unfortunately has to live with the guilt that she killed a man, which, as you guys know, she made a vow not to harm anyone. Unfortunately, she had to in that moment because he was attacking her, but whew, Claire just can't catch a break. Also, I need to talk about Bree and Roger. So, they spend the whole episode not knowing what's going on. Which, you know, so we kind of wish we were in that place too. It was kind of a nice break in between all the drama and chaos, because Bree and Roger are just kind of like reminiscing about when they used to drive in a car in the 20th century, and I just enjoyed hearing them reminisce. And they also talked about like how they're gonna explain things to Jemmy when he gets older, like the time traveling of it all. And they also talk about like explaining adoption to him, because they still at this point are not sure that Roger is his real father. And at one point Bree mentions that she does wish that she had learned that Frank wasn't her real father, but at the same time she understands now why they couldn't tell her. But just that moment, Bree's come so far since season 2, and it's just nice to see that character growth, you know? I loved seeing their little road trip. Unfortunately, they find out that Jemmy has lice, which I think that was in the book. And because they have to chop off his hair pretty much, this leads to a moment where Bree finds like a little mark on Jemmy's head. And it's kind of like a birthmark, but what did Roger call it? Like a nevis or something like that? I personally don't know what that is. I assume it's like a birthmark or something like that. But yes, Roger has pretty much the same exact mark in the same place. So this confirms it for Bree and Roger that Jemmy is Roger's son. And it was such a beautiful moment. And you could see like the tears welling up in Bree's eyes, and Roger also decides to get his hair cut, just pretty much to match his son. And just such a nice moment. I'm glad we had a nice moment in this episode, because otherwise it was depressing. But yeah, they, again, still don't know what's going on with Jamie and Claire. I'm sure they will learn what's going on in the season 7 premiere, because I don't know how they get involved in this storyline, but yeah, I'm not sure, but we will have to see. And also, one thing I wanted to point out, Jemmy laying his head against Bree's stomach and saying that he loves his baby sister. Oh, because it is going to be a sister, just FYI. But yes, just Jemmy was so cute in this episode. I'm glad we got to see more of him, because we only like get little glimpses of him throughout the season. But this episode actually kind of focused more on the family, which was nice. And yeah, just hope we get to see him more in season 7. And we will definitely be seeing the new member of the Mackenzie family. This episode was so well done. It had the intensity, it had the sentimental moments, and just everything was brilliant in this episode. And yeah, I'm excited to see where season 7 goes. I'm glad that it ended on a note where I can wait some time. Don't have to worry too much about what's going on. Yes, season 7 is gonna be one heck of a roller coaster. I can tell already, based on what I have seen that is being filmed. Like I mentioned, they are going to be filming the scene probably where Bree and Roger go back like I mentioned in my past video, by the way. Yeah, that moment's gonna be heartbreaking, I'm sure. But at the same time, there's just kind of like a sweetness to it that they're going back to their time, but also just so sad that they're going to be leaving their family. That might be the episode where I cry. I promise you guys, every season, there will be an episode where I cry. It has not failed. I always find an episode or moment in an episode to cry about. And it happened in episode 7 this time, so. What will season 7 be? We don't know. I also forgot to mention the scene at the diner that we saw earlier. That wasn't really a thing in the episode, except Claire mentioning that prisoners get one last meal before they're taken to the gallows, and her last meal would be a cheeseburger with fries and a Coke that she used to get at a diner that she took Brie to in the 50s. So that was basically all that was. Sometimes it's just like one little mention in the episode, but I don't know, it's still interesting to see that time period every now and then, because I think sometimes we do forget that there is that element in the show, that there is another time period, because yeah, we really didn't get any flashbacks in this season, did we? No, we didn't. Yeah, that was interesting, because I know in season 5 we got a flashback, but this season we didn't really, so just to see that one little scene, like, brought me back. I'm like, oh yeah, they had a life in the 20th century too. I also wonder if it's like a reminder that we are going to be seeing the 20th century again in season 7. Not the 50s, but we're going to see a new decade, if it's following the story, that is. We did not end with a fire in this episode, which I thought that's what was going to lead up to, but no. At one point, Claire wondered if that was going to happen to them, but the date wasn't right, so I'm not sure when it's going to be exactly. Some point in season 7, I guess, we did see Wendigo, which that was literally a tease. We only saw him once and then we don't see him again. So maybe while Claire is in Wilmington, oh, she's in prison in a cell. Maybe Wendigo's there. Oh, I just don't know what their interaction's going to be exactly, but it'll be interesting to see if that's where he is. Huh. Yeah, so maybe we will see Wendigo in the season 7 premiere. Otherwise, I don't know why they teased him, but I think he does have a big role to play. At least for the end of book 6. I'm not positive, but we will find out. I just really want to give a shout out here to the cast. I love them every season. They really bring it every time. The emotion, the humor on occasion, and just, they are so perfect in their roles. They really embody the characters, and just the way they play off each other, it's just so well done. So shout out to Sam Heughan. I know a lot of people were complaining that his acting was wooden in this season, and I have to disagree with that, because I think at this point Jamie's just learned to take things like one at a time, and if it's like he's being quiet while he's listening to somebody talk, he's listening. Like, he's not interrupting, he's letting Claire process her feelings while she's explaining them to him. Or, like, maybe he's just processing things because he's been through a lot. Jamie has been through a lot. So it's understandable that Jamie's gonna act differently now that he's older. Now that he knows things that he didn't know before. And I like seeing that evolution in his character. The acting from Sam was incredible this season, and Katrina Balfe, come on, like, beautiful acting, especially in the last episode where she is finally letting her feelings out about everything that has happened to her, and just seeing this strong woman slowly breaking down to the point where she can't take anymore, but then finally gets to heal. Like, she has been healing people this whole show, and she finally needed to heal herself. And Katrina just played those emotions amazingly. And honestly, you wouldn't think I could relate to a character like Claire because I'm not a doctor. I am not quick on my feet like she is. And she just somehow manages to adapt to things that a lot of us would have trouble adapting to in that time period. Like, seriously, no showers? I couldn't do it. But the way that Claire processes her feelings, that I can relate to. I can relate to her being scared. I can relate to her being vulnerable. I can relate to her also being strong, like trying to put on a brave face. I can relate to her in those ways. And that is one reason why she is my favorite character of all time. And Katrina, she's just done a great job bringing Claire to life. And I just am so excited to see what she will be bringing to season 7 along with Sam. And it's just going to be amazing. I know it. I also want to talk about Jessica Reynolds, who played Malva. Just, you did amazing, Jessica. Just the facial features alone, displaying Malva's inner way of thinking, just, that was so well done. Just, seriously, top-notch acting. Because Malva just has so much more complexity to her than we think she does when we first meet her. And just in a matter of 6 episodes, like, we get to see the evolution of this character go from here all the way to here. That is not an easy thing to do. So, seriously, shout out to Jessica Reynolds for playing Malva and bringing her to life. Just truly amazing. I am a little disappointed we didn't get to understand your character more. And yes, I know throughout my videos I was genuinely creeped out by Malva, but I truly wish we could have gotten to know her more after, like, the revelation of her pregnancy and all that. Because there was definitely confliction going on there, and it would have been nice to get to know that part of Malva a little more. I don't know if we really got to know that in the books either, but just that one scene where Claire confronts her and tries to help her, and Malva does start to show, like, she wants Claire's help until her brother shows up. I just wanted to see a little more of that, you know? But still, like, just what we got was amazing, just added so much to the show, and everything that went down with her character is going to have ripple effects throughout the beginning of season 7. And yes, seriously, bravo, Jessica. Also, Sophie, as well as Richard, just playing Brianna and Roger. We didn't get too much of them this season, but what we saw of Roger just taking charge and being the preacher that the Ridge needed, he really stepped up this season, and I loved seeing that. And then, of course, Brianna also, like, continuing to be a wife and a mother, and also exploring her engineering skills, which is a risky thing to do, but she took Claire's advice and she went for it, you know? And I don't know if we're going to continue to see that in season 7, but I hope we do. But yeah, I'm excited for them. They're going to have a new baby, and we'll definitely see more of them in season 7. There was a rumor going around that they might be at Lallybroch at some point. And if you guys read the books, you know why. But yeah, I can't wait to see their storyline in season 7. And also, again, shout out to John Bell. Just episode 4 alone was just his episode. He showed Ian's story so beautifully, and I'm so glad we got to know the new Ian more, because we only really got like a piece of him at the end of season 5. We didn't really understand what had happened to him, but we knew he was changed. And we finally get to see why in the season, and just John Bell did a wonderful job. The writers, of course, and just everyone in this season was amazing. And I can't say enough about this cast and the crew and just the writers. I know people love to complain that things are not like the books, but you know what show or movie is? Honestly, unfortunately, you have to sacrifice some things when you bring pages to life, because it's gonna be different. And I know we're so stuck on like the scenes that we imagine in our minds when we read things, but at the same time, you have to like congratulate the writers for doing the best they can, but also bringing like a newness to the story. That's not easy. And a lot of shows, honestly, they can fail doing that. But I personally think Outlander has found their strength in doing that. Like, making the stories a little different, having things add up differently than they do in the books. It just makes sense in the show. And again, just bravo to them. And I want to give a shout out to Bear McCreary. Bear McCreary just every season does an amazing job with the score. I'm truly in love with the score ever since season 1. And just the pieces that he did for season 6, I literally got the soundtrack already. But my favorite would have to be Ian's love story. That was just so beautifully done, and just Malva's piece also. Everything that's new and everything that's like a motif throughout the show. Like, you hear pieces of Fraser's Ridge in there, you hear Brianna and Roger's theme, and I love how he incorporates that into every season. It just really like ties it all together beautifully. Alright, guys, thank you for joining me for the season 6 finale of Outlander. A lot happened, a lot is going to continue to happen in season 7, and I'm still processing everything. But let me know what you thought of the episode. What are your thoughts on season 7? And yeah, hopefully I will see you guys soon. I don't know if I'm going to do any more videos in between, but I'm definitely going to be back for season 7. I might do a video if there's like information that comes up for season 7, do like a little update, but most likely I won't see you till season 7, so seriously, thank you for watching my videos, for subscribing. Thank you to my new subscribers, my old subscribers, thank you. That really means a lot, and I appreciate it so much. And yeah, I will do my best to bring you guys all the Outlander info for each episode. I really enjoy getting to bring my storytelling skills here, and it just means a lot to be able to do this. Yes, thank you. And if I don't see you till season 7, till most likely 2023, wow. I hope you all stay safe, stay well, and I will see you soon. Goodbye, my clan fans.